So, purpose of this little message is not going to be so much as, informational as some of my past videos. This one is more anecdotal. So, oh my God, I have a horror story to share with you. So, if you are a realtor just getting started, or if you've been a realtor and you haven't dealt with a situation like this, I want to use this as more so like a learning experience to just share what I've walked away from this situation with. So, was working with a client who is a buyer who wanted to do new construction. So got with one of the big popular builders. Everybody knows who they are. We're not going to name names. I just want to tell you about the situation. So new construction, big builder, and using the recently popular Ribbon program. So Ribbon allows the buyer to be able to put in a competitive cash offer, and then they guarantee closing. So they review the property, they agree to how much they want to put up based on the person's pre-approval letter. They agree to buy the property cash. If the buyer is able to get their financing in order, then it allows them to change the situation to finance on the back end at the end. So that's kind of how it's supposed to work. So we got with this new builder, said we wanted to use Ribbon. The buyer had to put down a pretty hefty deposit, like 10%, to secure the new build so they can start construction, take it off the market, all that good jazz. So that part went pretty smoothly. Talked with the new home consultant who was supposed to be, knowledgeable, didn't know anything about Ribbon, which is fine. But once given like the due diligence to be able to do their research to figure out, okay, are you going to accept the offer or not? They talked with Ribbon, they got whatever questions answered that they needed, and they went ahead and agreed to move forward. So at the time, wasn't aware, but part of being like a cash transaction is getting a seller credit of $9,000 that you can use towards upgrades or closing costs, all that jazz. So the person I was working with at the big builder didn't tell us anything about all of that. We just happened to see it in the contract agreement. Also, there was an addendum that needed to be signed about the Ribbon stuff just to make sure everybody was on the same page as to how it worked, whatever. So my client signed the agreement, sent over the addendum to Ribbon. Agent wasn't familiar with it, so they were like, I got to get supervisor approval and all that good jazz, work out their internal process. That was fine. So that took a couple of days of, okay, where's the addendum? We need to turn everything in. There's dates and stuff we have to be mindful of. So came back where the agent signed the addendum, everything was good to go. This was back in the beginning part of the summer. From that point, no matter what I needed from the agent at the big builder, there was a delay. They were not responsive. It got to the point where I physically had to go to the office to locate them. And even then, they still didn't have any answers. So 1 month goes by, 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by. We get ready to go to closing and no updates. There's delayed. There's things that the lender is working out that they need documents, no response to them, no follow-up. The agent goes on vacation for like a week, which is no problem. I'm all for it. Vacation is great. But if there's no point of contact to address time-sensitive things in your absence, you don't need to be going on vacation. So that's one vacation, more weeks, second vacation, more weeks, third vacation. And so nobody's being responsive. Agent can't reach supervisors, asking who the supervisors are. Nobody wants to provide their names. Working with the title company, who also is a part of the big builder. Delays there, them not knowing what to do. So long story short, get down to the end. Closing gets pushed back by 3 months. Buyer is ready to go, has done everything they've been asked. We get down to 4 days before closing, and the representative from the builder wants to take away the buyer's credit because now, since everything has been so delayed, the buyer had time to get everything in order for their financing, and they're closing with their own financing. Mind you, part of the addendum that was signed says whatever was a part of the original agreement still stands. It's just that on the back end, now the buyer is able to close with their financing. So I had to go back and forth. Um, Agent calls me raving and ranting, oh, we are God. This is our contract. Our contract supersedes everything, but you signed an addendum. So I wasn't aware that apparently this person was not supposed to sign the addendum. They signed it. I didn't think anything of it. Everything was executed. We went forward. And at the end of the day, it looks like, they were trying to cover themselves by taking away the buyer's credit because that's not how they do things internally. So what it came down to was what was signed. I had to go to bat for my client because they were about to take away $9,000 from them, which would push things into other circumstances for financing, probably delay the closing since it was 4 days before closing. Um, it was just an overall bad situation. Went back and forth, finally got a hold of an area manager by chance because I emailed one of the original signers from the contract, and they explained that's not their policy stuff. It wasn't, not necessarily, they didn't come out and say it wasn't approved, but there was all kinds of shadiness around how everything kind of went down. But at the end of the day, that is not my buyer's fault. And at the end of the day, it wasn't necessarily my fault because I followed your procedures in regards to what you communicated. Lack of communication and ownership led to a big issue. So we kind of went to bat for a while. I had to get attorney opinions involved. It was a nightmare. But at the end of the day, they had to agree that, okay, it wasn't the buyer's fault. So the buyer shouldn't be penalized for someone not following their own internal company protocols. Okay. So it worked out for the buyer. They were able to get their property. They were able to close. But I walk away from this experience with a couple of things. Okay. Uh, Agents, not necessarily beware, but be aware that you have to do some extra work and due diligence when it comes to new construction, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. The builder, the title company, the lender, if one is involved, the buyer, all of that just needs to be aligned. And if it's not, you're going to have problems. So that follow up is key. Follow up from you, follow up from them. If I wasn't following up and reaching out to the agent every week and going out to the property every week to take my own pictures, we got 2 sets of pictures from the new home representative throughout this entire process of like 5 months. I mean, yeah, May, June, August, October, yeah, a lot, however many months it was. We're not here to talk about numbers right now, but um, 2 sets of pictures that were nice to have, but didn't even really highlight some of the issues that were going on in the build with trash in the walls and things not being done and short changes being done in the work and all that stuff. None of that came from them. Like, it was my responsibility to go out there and monitor the build, get to know the building supervisor and all that good jazz. So you got to stay up on your follow up. Documentation is key. No matter whatever conversation I had on the phone, it was followed up with an email per our conversation, based on what we talked about, da 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 da, so that those who are involved are informed and aware that everything is documented, so that if there's a misconception or a miscommunication down the line, you can go back to the emails and go back to the documentation and say, no, this is what we discussed, or no, I'm mistaken, I made the mistake, da 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 da. Let's see how we can move forward. So taking ownership, being focused on the whole goal. The whole goal was to get my buyer in their property, make sure that it's to their best advantage. That's my job. That's what I do. And so sometimes you have to go to bat and do things that are uncomfortable, because I was very uncomfortable trying to speak to individuals who I had not spoken to, advocating for a $9,000 credit for my buyer. And at the end of the day, you stick to the facts, stick to the documentation, don't get emotional, take emotions out of it, and just do what you have to do. And so it's something that I learned that I know that I'm going to take with me as I move forward in the other transactions that I have, because it was like pulling teeth trying to get to the end. But at the end of the day, as the agent, you got to get it done for your client. Okay. So hopefully this story shed some light on some stuff, but oh my God, sometimes real estate can get very crazy, very tense, very, people get mad at you. I have had no communication from anybody from the builder because I guess they just don't want to talk to me anymore. So they're annoyed by me, but at the end of the day, I'll be a bulldog if I have to, but in a very nice and respectful way. So yes. If you have any other situations that you want to run by me, we can talk about, we want to chat, uh, please feel free to reach out because at the end of the day, we have to work together. If you're a fellow agent or if you're someone going into the process, you got to know what to expect. And new construction is no joke. This was my first one and it was a doozy. All right, guys. See you next time. Hit subscribe so next time I post a video, you'll be notified. And hopefully, it's something you enjoy and can walk away with something from it, some information that's useful or something you didn't know before. All right. Take care.